I'm Chris McDonough, a retired homicide detective. I've interviewed thousands of people, from serial killers to ministers. Welcome to the interview room. Hey, everybody. Aloha. Great to see you.
Hello.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
Hi, great. How are you? I love just little buddy on his take a seat right there on the intro is awesome.
He is such a nut job. He is so funny. And, when Dillan came up with that idea, I said, Dad, let's just, pop Buddy up at the end there. We thought that would be a pretty cool little tagline. So
it was awesome.
It's great having you here this evening. Thanks for coming on at the 11th hour. I really appreciate you jumping in to talk Barry and Lori.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me on. There's always something to talk about in those cases.
Exactly. Well, let's give a shout out to everybody. If you're over here from Linda's channel, It's a Crime. And if you're here, thank you so much for being here and supporting her. We know that she's an amazing mind, and she connects all those dots. And I myself even lean on watching her and learning from her. And then if you're here from our channel, thank you so much. If you haven't had an opportunity to subscribe to either one of us, please consider doing that. We would both be grateful, and would love to have you join our little YouTube community here. And shout out to all of our mods. And I know, we share some mods, don't we, Linda?
We do, yeah. I think we share a lot of viewers too.
We do, yeah. And I'm grateful for that. And
me too.
So all of our mods, thank you for everything that you do for both of us. I think we couldn't do it without you, and we're grateful for that. And absolutely. If you're here for the very first time, you're in for a treat, because my tagline is "Let's take a seat," and Linda's is
"Let's get into it."
Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start. So our rundown tonight's going to be this. So here's what we're thinking, and Linda and I just had a little chat before. So we're going to talk a little bit, Barry. We're going to talk about the affidavit to keep it sealed, and then we're kind of break that down a little bit deeper, and how it kind of is sitting, and maybe make a couple of opinions in terms of predictions. And then we're going to get into Miss Lori and Chad a little bit over there, and kind of see if we can get into some portal potties or something. As you say, Linda. I love those. Yeah, and so what? And plus, what do you want to talk about too? Well, we've got both sides of the coin here, not to.
No, this is great. This is a start. I'm sure, as everyone might know by now, you and I can just start chatting, and then 5 billion hours go by. We still haven't gotten everything out that we want to say. So it's all good. We'll just go to wherever leads us.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, everybody, for all of your donations early on, and their super stickers. And, and I think, from my perspective, obviously, the fact that you guys are here, we're just grateful for that. And, absolutely. If you can join, that's fine. If you can't, that's okay. Just be here, have fun. It's a Sunday night where we hope we make this worth your time, and provide a little information as well. We're very grateful that each of you are here on this channel, and of course in Linda's channel. If you haven't subscribed, get over there and do so, because she's not only hysterical, but she connects all of those dots, and it's really neat. It's really neat to see. Okay, so let's talk, and thank you, Manny. And by the way, I will thank everybody at one time. So I'm grateful, no matter what. We just love you all. You're just wonderful people. So I'm reporting from an undisclosed bunker in the back of my Airstream, and this is a green screen behind me. So Linda, Karen, Dillan, and I have been going up the West Coast. Now you've done that, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, I did a little in my 20s. I got a little crazy, packed up my car, drove down the coast, went and plunked myself in LA for almost a year, and then I came back to Canada. But yeah, that drive in the West Coast is amazing. I fall asleep driving in Canada in some of the prairies, but going, straight shot down to California, eyes wide open all the way. Love it.
I'll tell you, that's really neat that you did that. And, it's cool. Now, have you and Mr. Linda had an opportunity to do any of that kind of travel like that yet?
No, well, Mr. Linda did that by motorbike when I first met him. That would have been 8 years ago. He went on a motorcycle trip with his buddies he was planning and did that same thing. So
Danger's his middle name, right?
I don't know about that anymore, but
yeah. Well, he's an awesome guy. He's a paramedic up there, and in our dear friends in Canada. You folks are just amazing people. And by the way, we want to give a shout out to everybody all around the world. We are grateful that you're here and that you're supporting all of us. Vancouver Island, Canada. Catherine is in the house. So
there you
got a lot of our friends coming from the north here. And I'm almost up there. I'm pretty close, not too far away. Not too far. Yeah, but I can't get across the border. They won't let me across the border.
I know.
Yeah. Well, it's usually they see my
in BC. Karen, we got to get her up there.
Yeah, you should see. They probably see my picture in the post office on the wall, here in the U.S. and the FBI wanted list. So that's number 4. Let's not let him in.
No, I have the top 10. I know who the top 10 is. You're not one of them in there in the FBI wanted list.
I'll tell you. So. Hey, so let's talk this affidavit. What are your thoughts initially when you first saw that thing come down? And by the way, we're going to take questions as always. Miss Linda and I love to chat with you and throw some stuff out. So as you're giving it to us, so we appreciate it. So what are your thoughts?
That it's sealed, or just in general? Because we're chomping at the bit. I know many people are so frustrated that it's not released. I know before it was announced that it wasn't going to be released for a while, I was checking 4 or 5 times a day, hitting refresh. And now it looks like we're not even going to be able to see it. And correct me if I'm wrong, till in August, after Barry appears in court, and it's at least 7 days.
Yep. 7 days after. Yep. 7 days. Love the bear, Terry, tiger, Linda grow.
He's wondering if
awesome.
It's a
Thanks, Brett.
I'm wearing stripes today. I guess it is fitting.
Yeah. I should have worn my orange jumpsuit. I have one. No, I'm teasing, but I just in memory. But so the court, I guess, is going to hold it off, and then what's interesting about this. Affidavit. So, Dill, let's put it up for a second, and then Miss Linda and I are going to chit chat here on it. So here it comes. I'm not seeing it. Are you seeing it, Linda?
No, not yet.
Dill, refresh it one more time, and we'll pull it up. Well, we're waiting for it.
Somebody wants you to green screen yourself in the cage.
Oh, that's a great idea. Okay, hang on for a minute. All right. Okay, I'm going to step out just for a second. Do not leave, okay? Everybody, you can stay here. Okay, so let me see if I can find here. Let me see if I can find a cage. Okay. All right. How's this?
That's pretty good. I guess.
Let's see here. There it is.
Yeah, that's Probably not
Almost.
a place you want to be, but for tonight you're going to be.
So Dill, just to let you know, we're not seeing it. So something needs to be shared here for a second. But while we're waiting for it,
sure.
Okay. So the analysis of this thing. Well, first of all, there's a couple of things I think are really important on what's going on here. The first one is the defense is who filed this motion. Okay. Now that's important to keep in mind, because what they've done here in this particular motion is a couple subtleties that there it is right there. There it is. Okay, it's up now. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull it up, Dill. Roll it up if you can, and thank you for getting that, pal. Appreciate that. Okay, and get to the right there. That's fine. Okay, so you'll see here under the first part of these motions are obviously, the attorneys have to point out, well, these are the points that we're going to go after, Your Honor, and these are the reasons why. Okay, and so typically these pretrial motions, or something like this, have to be filed before the preliminary hearing, but it all depends on what the particular rules of evidence are for the state. For the state of Colorado, it's a little bit different than California, and where I did my time in homicide, a lot of these things would be done after the prelim. Okay, so what the prelim obviously is, the preliminary hearing, is just to establish a little probable cause that this person could have committed the crime, and therefore, they're going to go bind them over into superior court. Okay. Well, here in Colorado, under the rules of law, in rule number 55-1, subsection A, subsection 6, okay, the court has to do an analysis. Okay, so Dillan, roll it up for a second. If you could, keep going till we get to the word analysis. Okay, hang on. Whoops. Go back to page 2. I think it's at the bottom of page 2. All right. Hang on for a minute. Keep going. No, I'm not sure you're looking at the same one I'm looking at. So keep going down. Keep going. Go up to the top. I want to read the top here. No, all the way. Page 1. Okay, June 2nd. Okay, that's why. Okay, hang on. I'm going to send you a brand new one. Don't go anywhere. Because the one that you're looking at was the other one. So there were 2 of them. This one is redacted. And the one that we're going to put up here in a second, I just texted it to you, pal. Okay, so essentially what the analysis says is the court, well, Dillan's getting that second one up here, says the defendant argues several substantial interests exist which support limiting access to the arrest warrant affidavit. Okay, essentially what that is saying to us is the prosecution's not arguing it and the media's not arguing. Okay, so what happened in this particular case is the defense got all of these 130 pages of affidavit and filed a motion to suppress it. Okay? The DA did not object to the defense motion to argue that it should be suppressed, okay? Because the DA wants it out there, okay? And so what the media did is they attached a writer. Basically, they just attached to that motion and said, look, we're not going to argue anything until you give an analysis to the court. Okay. So now that this analysis has been done, and we're going to see it here in a minute, okay? Now that this analysis has been done, and yep, there it is, pal. Go down to page 2 at the bottom. So the first one you just saw was the unredacted version, okay? Well, what the court did in this version here, when they re-released it, perfect right there. When they re-released it, is they redacted all of the other verbiage. And so basically what they're doing here is the court is trying to balance, okay, the scales of justice. Remember, I always talk about Lady Justice in the United States and has a blindfold, and she also has some scales, okay? So those scales are, part of, the Constitution, i.e., right to a fair trial, Fourth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, all of the amendments that say a defendant is innocent until proven guilty. Okay. Now that's different than probable cause. And what an arrest affidavit is a document that says, Your Honor, we know that A, B, C, and D point to Mr. Morphew as being the suspect and or the perpetrator. Okay. So officers of the court, i.e. law enforcement in the U.S., okay, are officers of the court. So we have to go, or they have to go, and put a set of matching bracelets on people and bring them before the court for a fair and speedy trial. Okay. So that burden is much lower than beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay. The burden increases as that subject hits the cage, okay, in Colorado. Okay. And that was a slick move by the defense, wasn't it? Didn't you think?
I was surprised.
Yeah. What did you think? What did you think when you heard that?
I did the double take because I watched it through WebEx, and I go, did she just say cage? And he's sitting there in a cage, or however the word was. I was very surprised at that.
Yeah, I think we're going to see, you and I have talked a little bit about this already, but we're also going to see another tactic here coming in here that is just kind of under the radar. Okay, now I think, well, what do you think? I put a poll up today on my side and asked, do you think Barry will be the victim in trial? What's your opinion, Linda? What do you think? There's no wrong answer, by the way.
I think two things. I think yes, and I also think he's already painted that throughout the year. And yeah. I think the cage comment supports that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and I think what's happened here in this analysis from the court is very interesting, and I'm going to point out why. Mm-hmm. So the defendant in the analysis says the defendant argues several substantial interests exist which support limiting access to the arrest affidavit, i.e., Your Honor, there are a couple of reasons why this should not be released, right? These substantial interests are preventing the release of inflammatory information contained in the affidavit. There is the first I mentioned, in my opinion, is Barry will be played as a victim. Okay. And here is the first, piece of that puzzle. Inflammatory information contained in the affidavit. Okay. So I wonder what's inflammatory about, I don't know, dismembering your wife, mutilating her. I'm not really sure how the defense is going to play that, but, of course, that could be inflammatory, right? The second is to protection of the alleged victims. Now, that's a very interesting worded sentence. Alleged victims.
Plural.
Okay? And who are these alleged victims? Go to page 3, the Morphew daughters. So what the defense has said here, is the daughters are the victims. And therefore, they should not be, this affidavit should not be released, okay, to the public until they have had an opportunity to digest it. And they cite 3.8F, okay, of the Code of Conduct. So let's go over to 3.8F. And Dillan, go ahead and pull up 3.8F of the Colorado, okay, rules. And so now, okay, there it is right there, 3.8. And now go to, no, okay, stop, go down. Or go, excuse me, go back up. Okay, first of all, let me point something out here. This 3.8 is the special responsibilities of a prosecutor. Okay? So what's happened here is the defense is using the evidentiary code of conduct against the prosecutor for the defense. Okay, that's pretty slick. So go down at verse or subsection F now. So go down to F because that's what the court cites. Okay. And we get down to F. Okay. So here's what F says. Excerpts for statements that are necessary to inform the public of the nature and extent of the prosecutor's action and that serve a legitimate law enforcement purpose. Now, this is where, and we're going to go back to that affidavit in a second. This was a really slick move by the defense because what they did is they tied in the defense investigation as part of law enforcement efforts. Okay. So, and you'll see, we're going to see it here in a second here. To serve a legitimate law enforcement purpose, refrain from making extrajudicial comments that have a substantial likelihood of heightening public condemnation of the accused unless such comments are permitted under Rules 3.6B, 3.6C, and exercise reasonable care to prevent investigators, i.e. defense, law enforcement personnel, the Sheriff's Department, FBI, CBI, employee or other person assisting or associated with the prosecutor in a criminal case for making an extrajudicial statement. So basically what this rule is if that affidavit would have been released, then it would have opened the doors for any one of these individuals working in the sheriff's or whoever to say things that would be inflammatory about Barry Morphew. Okay. But what's interesting here is they tied that to a defense investigation that hasn't started yet. Okay. So Dil, can we jump back to the affidavit again? I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Are you tracking me here, Linda?
I'm kind of tracking you. I'm wondering how often does this happen? Because I know there's usually.
Well, that's a great question. And so it doesn't happen very often. That's why they had to cite a 2013 case, the People versus Holmes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Where that guy was whacking people all over Colorado. Okay. So they had to basically start digging to find a case. Okay. That fits. So it says, I'm going to read this. Protection of the alleged victims, the Morphew daughters, not impending the ongoing defense investigation, just what I said, okay? Prevent a potential violation of Colorado 3.8F, which we just read. So basically what the defense said is, hey, my investigators could be impacted by this coming out into the public. Okay. Well, no, it's an arrest affidavit. Okay. Your investigators get to read it like the next guy. Okay. So if you're just joining us, Miss Linda and I are talking about the arrest affidavit for Barry Morphew and the judge's ruling, okay, in suppressing it till 7 days after one either the prelim or some other evidentiary hearings. Okay. And he gave the defense an opportunity to allow the victims, Barry's kids, okay, not Suzanne's kids, by the way. Okay, these are Barry's children. Okay, to have an opportunity to read it and digest it. Okay, well, under the in for victims advocates and families here, the victims here are Andy and Melinda and others who lost their sister, as well as, okay, the girls, but they're not victims of a crime.
Right.
They are victims as a result of crime, and they're not even they're family of the victim. They're family of the victim. There is one victim here, and that is Suzanne Morphew. The other peripheral family members, okay, are just unfortunately that. I lost my son, okay. My children, okay, are not the victim. Our other children are not the victim. They were impacted by the loss of their brother, okay. But my other children don't get, special treatment, okay, that outweighs what the reality is, okay. So what the defense has done skillfully here, by the way, I would submit to you tonight, is they have tied the girls now into the trial as victims. Okay? And it says right there, you can read it for yourself. Dillan, blow up page 2 at the bottom. Make it very large. Yep, you got to go back the other way. Yep, go back the other way. Okay, right there, analysis. Now blow that up to 100 and whatever it is. If that's the biggest you can get it, you look at the last sentence. Protection. Whoops, there you go. That's awesome. Okay, right there. See, the defense knew that they couldn't say protection of the victims. So what they did is they legal mumbo jumboed alleged victims because when you look at the code in Colorado of what a victim is, okay, they don't fall into the category, unfortunately, that I can read. Now, there may be some lawyers out there, but from my reading of this, the only victim in this particular case is Suzanne Morphew. Okay, so let's go ahead and drop that down, Dylan. Let's go back to adding me and Miss Linda together, and let's continue on here for a second. So the Morphew daughters, not impending the ongoing defense investigation. So now they have tied in that, the defense investigators are entitled to the same rules as the prosecution. Okay, under that rule. Okay. And so what the court's done is try to balance. Okay, try to balance early on. Okay, and so he adds a personal opinion. Well, first the court has concerns about the amount of information contained in the 130-page affidavit. Okay, well, that's nice.
Yeah, yeah, should.
Okay. Well, all right. The affidavit is by far the lengthiest and most detailed affidavit the court has ever seen in almost 30 years of experience with criminal cases. Okay. What relevance does that have? Okay. Maybe this was the most egregious crime that ever occurred in the state of Colorado. Okay. I don't know yet. Okay. That's just an opinion. A significant portion of the information in the affidavit was not relevant to the court's finding of probable cause and probably not admissible under trial under the Colorado rules of evidence. So what the judge just said is a lot of what I read probably won't even come in. He just made a ruling right there. Okay. And the trial hasn't even started yet. And then you'll see, roll it up, Dill. Roll it up. See where it starts to get redacted? Okay. You can bet before this was released, it was sent to both the prosecution and the defense. Okay. And the defense probably had a problem with what's going on here, or the court. I don't know who, but keep rolling it up now. Okay. So this is the court's right there. Stop. This is an exhausted list of the type of information in the affidavit for which the court has concerns. So what he did there was level set back to the prosecution to say, look, you guys are going to have to come prepared to argue all of these things. Okay. So let's stop right there. What are you thinking, Linda? What's in your thought process?
Right now, it's just like there's a lot of information overload. Yep. Okay, no, you keep going because I'm still processing. I was going to talk a little bit about this 130-page affidavit, just saying, get ready.
Yeah, and so I see Allegro. She says if the person deceased in case the spouse, parent, child, grandparent, etc., could be a victim, significant other. You're right. If mom was murdered in front of the children, they are victims. Okay, they're victims of that trauma. Okay, but they are not, okay, victims of that crime. And this section talks about crime victims. In fact, let's pull it up. Okay, so Dillan, let's go to 24 4.13025. Okay, so first of all, let's read what the section talks about and blow it up for us, Dill. So this is the section about Colorado law. Okay, and by the way, this is a legislative session in 2021. So this is the most recent Colorado law. But first of all, let's talk about definitions. Okay, rights afforded to victims, definitions. Look at number 1 and blow this up, Dillan. Stop right there and blow that up as big as you can get it. Okay, if you can't, I'll read it. In order to preserve and protect a victim's rights to justice and due process, each victim of a crime has the following rights. So here's the question. What are they? What's the crime?
Yeah.
What's the crime that they've been victims of?
Yeah.
And I'm not I know what crime Barry committed, but I'm talking about them and the affidavit to suppress. So what the defense has done here, and masterfully so, is tied together the defense investigators under the rules and then they have to tie together that the girls get an opportunity to read the affidavit. Not Andy, not Melinda, okay, but the other side, the other family. Okay.
I have two questions.
Please go.
Okay. So they don't get to. Does that mean Mallory and Macy get precedence over anyone else reading this? They get to first dibs, so to speak? Or
yeah,
do
that's what the court did.
Okay, so wow. What if there was an older brother, let's just say, that didn't live at home and was 40 years old? Would that guy also be the victim?
Apparently.
So they get to read this first. And how does that, sorry, I have a bunch of questions now that's starting to click. If
they have been victimized.
Correct. But I agree with you, not a victim of a crime.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what this section is about.
Correct. So fast forward, what does that look like with this in place?
Well, look, I think where the court ends up here at the very end, right? To your question, I think where the court ends up here is and rightfully so, right? I mean, he balances what the girls must be feeling.
Yep.
Okay.
Understandable.
Against what how he's basically trying to say, look, this is horrific. What I just read, 130 pages of what I read, is one of the worst I've seen in 30 years in my career. Okay. I need some time, or how do I give some time to both sides? Okay. To give them some time to digest everything that's in there. Now that's a good thing. Okay. That is a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Okay. The challenge comes now is this. It was brought into this motion by the defense. Okay. And what they're doing is they're taking advantage of it, in my opinion. Okay. And they're already painting this brush that says, look, they're victims and Barry's a victim. And where this is going to go, and we're already starting, in my opinion, to see it starting to move this way. Okay. They're already saying, well, let's talk about feelings. Okay. Right. Let's not talk about the victim, Suzanne. Okay. So what they're doing is exactly what they did in the other cases. Okay. They made it an emotional play by bringing emotion into the play. Okay. So what they're doing is they're shifting. Okay. They're shifting the focus.
Sure. Like a diversion.
Exactly. And so what could potentially be the results of that? Okay. The potential results of that could be unbelievable technicalities. Okay. I had somebody the other day say, well, if you start talking about this, they could subpoena you. I said, great. Wait till I get on the stand, okay, and talk about their client. Okay. I've done it.
There's a mouthful to say about that.
I've done it hundreds of times.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a lot of people in prison for murder, for telling the truth. Okay.
High five.
High five. But thank you so much, Melanie. But everything it's a shifting. It's a shifting. Okay. So what's getting lost here? And Dillan, can you bring us both up here?
Suzanne.
Exactly.
Suzanne's getting lost. And how is that fair then? If you want to keep the balance of the scales, how is that fair that Suzanne's other loved ones aren't privy to the same information?
Well, and that's a great question. And where the court, I think, did a really good job is towards the end here, where the judge says, look, he says, I got to make sure that I'm following the rules, defense is following the rules, and the prosecution's following the rules. Sure. So therefore, in a lot of high profile cases like this, these judges who, get into these things, their hearts are always in the right place, and they want to be, right down the middle. They can't play favorites. Okay.
Of course.
So they have to follow the law, but simultaneously, if they get caught up in, okay, well, gosh, this makes me feel, mushy inside, and so I got to follow my feelings versus no, this is what the law says. Okay. Whenever that happens, okay, then you get into these decisions that are made and they end up in an appellate court. Okay. And the appellate court says, I don't think so. Okay. You didn't do A, you didn't do B, so therefore you get a C, i.e. a new trial. Okay. And they kick it back. Okay. That's why our system has these different levels of appellate courts, right? So what I'm concerned with is Suzanne's going to get lost up until the trial, and she's going to get lost through the prelim. Okay. And that is really what the judge said here is, look, go back, redact this 130 pages, just give me the probable cause that I signed in the first place. Okay. And quite frankly, back in the day, whenever you would do an intensive investigation like this, you would literally just turn the case file over, and it really wouldn't be every, nickel and dime in the affidavit. Okay. It would be, look, Your Honor, here's the probable cause, or we just go hook them up and bring them before the court. Okay. But because this investigation took so long, it took a year, right? They had to cross the T's and dot the I's.
Yeah.
So they wanted to make sure that, they went to the court and said, Your Honor, here's what we're thinking, and we're going to do this. And the judge says, yeah, I agree. There's probable cause to make the arrest. Go get him. Okay. And so that's what's happened here. So what the judge finally did is, and he says it on page 4 and page 5, he comes to the conclusion on page 6. He says, look, the court orders the arrest affidavit May 5th to remain sealed and suppressed. Okay. Only judges, court staff, etc. But it will expire 7 days after the conclusion of the proof of evidence presumption hearing, i.e. the prelim hearing. Right. So there are going to be 2 hearings. One is going to be the amount of evidence that they have and what will be suppressed. Okay. Well, the court just told the DA, okay, look, some of this I think is, pretty inflammatory. Fuzzy Dog Food. When I was a juror, we needed to leave our feelings aside and go by facts. Should a judge have to go the same? Yes. And he will. In fact, he will. In fact, you'll be getting, the jurors will get jury instructions in relationship to that. Okay. Great comment. Fuzzy Toxic, great comment. So what the court has said here, what the court has done, he says, look, right now, okay, I have to consider everything. So I like meaning him, just the thought process, right? The defense has raised the issue that the girls are victims. Okay. Well, yeah, they've been through a horrific time, i.e. the judge says that in this order. He said they've been through hell. Okay. So as a result of that, okay, I'm going to hold this back until they can digest it. Okay. Now, what would have been cool is to see this, maybe a sentence or two, and I'm not Monday morning quarterbacking in any way, shape, or form. I'm not a judge, okay, at all. Okay. But what would have been neat to see for the public is to say, and Suzanne's family are also victims, and they have a right to digest this as well.
100%.
Okay. So by doing that, that would have cut it both ways down the middle. And then Andy, Melinda, and the other folks could have weighed in. But, what strikes me is the fact that he's also letting them read it, and they potentially could be witnesses. That is that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. No, because if they're going to be put on the stand, the first question I would ask them by the prosecution is, did you read the arrest affidavit? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. And what did you learn? And just go down that line, right? Go down that line. So I said this 3 weeks ago when he was first arrested. I said, they're already laying the groundwork. They're already laying the groundwork. Okay. They're already laying the groundwork that Suzanne, that Barry will be the victim here. Okay. That Barry will be the victim. And now, so what are your thoughts? Go ahead. I've been talking too much, Linda.
No, you haven't. This is fascinating. I'm thinking the same thing. Like, it's already started. And just by that term cage that she used, which really struck me, I went, whoa, did she just actually say that? I think that was intentionally done, obviously, intentionally done and setting up for exactly what you're saying. I can see this now. Is going to be a poor me, poor Barry Morphew.
Yeah. And that's why. Go ahead.
Ooh, that roused me up. Everybody, I bet you in chat's just freaking out. Actually, I'm seeing them even ask about Gannon Stokes, which we talked a little bit before this started tonight. Same kind of thing here, or not the same thing, but little Gannon Stokes was killed, and his stepmother's on trial right now. And well, I guess there's a little bit of a difference. The affidavit was actually leaked.
Oh, really?
Okay, so it was leaked before the family could even see this. Now, they were simultaneously, I guess, while it was leaked, they were reading it. However, there was nothing of this nature because there's two victims, victims in a sense of the sister and the stepsister of Gannon. So I'm trying to parallel this, just think in my head, okay, well, that never happened in that. This was in Colorado Springs. And yet the affidavit was absolutely released.
Interesting. Thank you, Soul Sister. I agree with you. Her channel is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, here's an interest, to dovetail into what you just said.
Yeah.
So Dillan, can you put up the Holmes decision, the District Court of Arapahoe County? If you have that. Okay, so watch what's interesting about this. So, and as soon as it comes up here in a second, and if not, I'm going to send the link over to him. Hang on for a minute.
And somebody was just saying about Gannon's siblings were young. No, his stepsister was actually 17 turning 18. So same thing here.
Yeah. So interesting. So, okay. All right. So remember in the hearing from the defense, the first hearing we heard with Barry, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this redacted motion here is from James Egan Holmes. This is the case that was cited by the defense and what the court cited in Barry's affidavit of arrest to suppress it. Okay. Well, the difference here is, Dill, roll it up for a second and go to number 2. Okay. The difference here is this guy is charged with 24 counts of murder in the first degree. Okay. But what's interesting here is this is the case precedence that the court cited. Okay. And in the affidavit that we just read. Okay. And it basically, look at number 3 here. The defense requests that all communication between the district attorney and victims or witness to be disclosed to the defense. Did you hear that before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same day.
It's almost verbatim.
Yeah.
Okay. This motion is not supported by Colorado law, federal. Now, this is a response from the prosecution because, see, this is directed at the prosecution. Okay. So remember the defense attorneys, said, we want everything recorded.
Yes.
And in fact, we want the court to order that you hand that they get tape recorders for no matter what. Okay. Right. It's like, yeah, sure.
I love what the judge said, and somebody in the comments, I'm sure, is going to get it right. But I remember him saying, like, well, I know we're in the sticks, but I think we can get access to and tape recorders for my officers or something like that. Yeah. It was so funny. That was the best one of the whole court hearing. The best line.
I recommend a couple of tin cans with some wires,
right?
And they can put it over their ears.
Chris, hello?
And exactly. Hello, Linda. Are you over there? Yeah, exactly. Okay. So now this is look down, Dillan, go down to number. You got to keep going. So keep going. Yeah, till you get to the number 2, Roman numeral 2. It's going to be the next page, I think. Whoop, one more. Keep going.
There it is.
Oh, page 3. There you go. Okay. All right. So this is basically the laundry list. Okay. Any report, number 3, any reports, experts, any statements of experts made in connection. Now, you've seen that before, right? They asked the same thing. The experts haven't even testified and or written reports, and the defense, i.e., these 2 attorneys, okay, I'll call them the Denver, the Denver Tigers, okay, the Denver Tigers, okay, basically ripped all of this language out of this case, okay, and they attached it, and the court cited it in the affidavit of arrest. Okay, and the challenge here that the court has, and the judge made the right ruling, okay, is unfortunately this is all pointed at the district attorney. But what they did, the Denver Tigers, is they tied their investigators into it, defense investigation, okay, and other victims, okay, which, you know what, touche. But for me, the problem is, okay, is Suzanne. I don't want Suzanne to get missing.
Yeah. I have it. I was having it here. I was just looking to see. I have my notes here, just zipping through it.
Well, I think the prosecution is going to let it run. Okay.
Yeah, because they went through it, didn't they? That's when they kept saying Rule 16 covers this, Rule 16 covers that. This, I would think this is part of Rule 16, and it was, even the judge was saying, I'm a little confused as to what you're saying right now. I'm not comfortable with what you're saying, right?
Yeah. And what unfortunately has, if you go back and you look, and Dillan, maybe we can put the link. Let's put the link to this in our below to this James Holmes case. If you read this James Holmes case and then you read how they were arguing, it's pretty interesting. So this is all, remember this, what we mentioned a while ago, it sounds like they're already laying the foundation for an appeal. Okay. And so it's the old defense tactics, right? When you have nothing, absolutely throw everything at the wall, like
This is how I word it. Pick a straw, any straw. That's what I talk about, Lori Vallow.
Exactly. And then, if you can throw anything at it, okay, just throw it, okay. Yeah. And then simultaneously, if that doesn't work, then prosecute the cops. That's coming next. Okay, that's coming next. What did the cops do wrong, and see where this is going. Okay, see where it's going to go. So it's interesting. It's interesting. So what are your thoughts? And you want to take a couple of, Maureen Wall says salad. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of salad. Just mix it all together and see what's out there. It's awesome.
Let's just mix a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Actually, I was quite what's the word? Surprised, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
From what I was hearing before of these Denver Tigers. I'm never gonna be able to stop thinking about that name now. When I saw them, and then I was actually quite impressed with the judge throughout this hearing. But I don't know. It was just a little weird because not that I've seen hundreds of hearings, but this one was different. Just even in the little tiny things, like even the judge said, I'm a little uncomfortable to do or not to do investigation. Like the way he was going through, he's like, wait a minute, please clarify this. What does it even mean? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and we see that's a great point, and we may see the beginning of some of that cop stuff, right? Where even the judge just, he just said in that affidavit, and I think people missed it. Okay, he said, "Look, there's a lot of stuff in here that may not even make it into court."
Yeah.
Okay. And therefore, I don't even want the public to see that. Okay? But it may be investigative steps that the investigators had to take, okay, to get to a conclusion. Okay? And so what the judges asked them to do is take those steps out, okay, and scrub it, okay, and then resubmit it. And just resubmit the probable cause of arrest. Okay.
So the meat and potatoes, so to speak. Like just
give me the meat and potatoes. Don't give me the buffet, is what he said. And that's where he interjected his feelings of, look, in my 30 years of doing this, this is the biggest affidavit I've ever seen. Okay. And so therefore, it's kind of like going to Vegas. I would, it's like going into the Bellagio and going, holy cow, this place is huge. Okay. But then you hear the bells going off and somebody just won $500,000 for a nickel slot machine. Okay. What the judge says, what the judge wants, and, and what he's doing is he's balancing, right? He's doing the balancing act.
Yeah.
And what the judge wants is, look, just tell me how you put the nickel in and pulled the slot machine, okay, i.e. to the prosecution, okay, because I don't need some of this stuff, how you walked into the building, but you see, for investigators, that's critical information, and you'll hear that on the stand. You can bet there will be a lot of, objections when the investigators get on the stand and the prosecution starts going down this line of questioning of, well, what did you do? What did you do next? Okay. Well, the defense is going to go nuts. Okay. And object. And there's going to be a lot of sidebars, and they're going to have a lot of this, going back and forth. And the judge is going to do what he does. He's going to judge. He's going to play referee. But even in those sidebars, those conversations that take place, he's going to say, okay, well, you know what? I got to balance it on both sides. So I'll give you half of the statement. Okay. So a lot of times you'd be on the stand and the court will look at you and say, detective, that was not the question. Okay. And then he'll say to the prosecution, ask the question again another way. Okay? And that's where you get that. Okay. And you can bet there's going to be a lot of that happening in this particular trial. Unless there's some bombshell in here, and that could be the forensic evidence, i.e., maybe there's that biological information that was, put out initially. Okay, what are your feelings on that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it is going to be big. I think there is going to be a lot in there,
mm-hmm.
and Is that what you're asking? Like what I think about that? I think it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be bad. I've thought that for the last year. It's not going to be good.
Yeah. And what was one of your theories? One of your theories in the triangle, I thought that was a fascinating piece because you thought he lit the fire, right, on purpose.
Well, initially when I first looked at the triangle, I didn't realize about the fire. I saw something about a fire way back in the beginning. And of course, you know how it is. As you get more info, then you got to go back and go through, got to go back and go through. So the fire, I found out after the triangle that I went digging, and it took me months to do that. Then I found out and pushed and pushed and pushed. There was a lot of pushback to get any information about this fire, but Barry Morphew was a volunteer firefighter, right? And Barry Morphew was at this fire. This fire was just like a hop skip to their house. So, and it happened on Monday. So Suzanne was reported missing on Sunday, and the Monday before, this crazy fire happens that nobody wants to talk about. And it's like 5 football fields big, like that big, but nobody seems to have a clue that there was a fire. Now, a lot of people are like, Linda, I don't understand what the fire means. What does that even mean? Well, for me, it's like, wait a minute. She's missing on a Sunday, but this weird, nobody's seen her for how many days? And then this weird fire happens on Monday, 6 days before. Was that an attempt of something? Was there insurance on the house that something? Because I'm starting to question, right? Why is there a fire? Why is no one talking about the fire? And why is people saying that it's in a different spot than where it actually was? And the CAD said it was human caused. But the report after said it was a branch on a tree, or sorry, a branch on a power line. There's 2 sets of power lines that go to the west of that area. And one of them's a higher set and the other one's like a regular set. And there's like, where's the trees around it to cause it? But at the end of the day, it was deemed as a natural, or I can't remember what it said, tree branch. It was like not human caused. So I just found it, so I had all kinds of sorts of questions on it because it's also right beside the triangle that I've been talking about since what? Last July? Last August?
Yeah, no, those are good points. In fact, and now that we know, that Melinda had had conversations with Suzanne that days before, okay, and then it all stopped, and even her other girlfriend, who we're not going to mention, had conversations about the wedding and a couple other things. So that really could have been, a post-incident incident, like you're pointing out. I mean, and maybe it's in that affidavit. Let's, I don't know.
Well, what just struck me is because I watched your video with Melinda, and she was saying that they owed Jean money.
Yes.
And so what just hit me right now when you brought Melinda's name up, I was like, well, wait a minute. This is the question I was asking, because I thought, how convenient in my own mind, in my opinion, everybody, how convenient that people were away that week, but no one could give me an answer. Who was away, when, what, where, how? So I just thought, so weird that Monday, would have been like the 2nd or 3rd or something of May, that this fire happened, and it went overnight to the morning. And you would think people in the area would be scared. I used to live in Western BC. Okay, or sorry, out west in BC. And every summer there's crazy fires, crazy fires. Well, something happens, you're like, holy crap, if that thing can move fast, it could be my house, right? So I had thought, well, isn't that interesting? I want to find out if Barry was at the fire. Well, guess who was at the fire? Barry was at the fire.
Interesting.
So what I thought was, was this like the first plan perhaps, that maybe the house would be go on fire, burn to the ground, you get insurance money and Bob's your uncle, right? Like, or, you know, that's what I was exploring. So a lot of people, they ask me, well, what does this fire have to do with anything? Well, this is what I'm trying to figure out. Was this intentional? Wasn't it intentional? Who was involved? What happened? Why is it changed from a human cause to a stick now on a power line? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's a fascinating theory that you came up with early on, and it's again, this is kind of where they knew this. I mean, we don't know yet, right? Because we can't see the affidavit yet. But maybe this is part of what the judge is citing. He's saying, look, there is so much in this, okay, that, yeah, the fire could have occurred. I mean, hypothetically, right? But, how does that connect him immediately to the case? And that's what I think, if you've just joined us with Miss Linda from It's a Crime, and if you haven't gone over to her channel to subscribe yet, get over there and please, push that button. But what the judge did, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the affidavit to suppress the arrest affidavit for Barry Morphew. And what we've learned, and just kind of, doing a little dissection here, is why we looked up the cases that are cited. And we've learned a couple of things. One, that the defense filed the motion. They tied in the defense investigators as possibly being, potentially harmed by their investigation getting harmed if the affidavit was released. The two girls having an opportunity, Barry's daughters having an opportunity to digest the information before it gets released. And so what the judge did was he said, okay, I'm going to hold it back until 7 days after the prelim and the other hearings. And then I will release it. Now, the problem that's going to give, obviously, is, and he also left the door open for the media to come in and argue and file their own motions. Okay. He said, look, I'd like to hear from the media if you're interested. Okay. And, maybe some of the big affiliates or whoever are going to weigh in. Okay. But the challenge is, what the judge did there is he told the prosecution, go back and trim the fat off of this steak. Okay, and then send it back to me. Okay, and that was the defense's, probably their whole move, is to get some of this to cut out, cut it out. So it's an interesting move. My concern is, and what you have been saying as well, Linda, my concern is Suzanne is going to get lost, and they're going to start painting Barry as the victim. Okay. And I'm not trying to say that the girls aren't victims. Don't misunderstand where I'm coming from in any way, shape, or form. What I'm saying is, under the rules of what were cited here, a victim of a crime is different than being a family member. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's much different. Okay, I've sat in with both sides, and they are all hurt. There's damage on both sides. But let's say this was an attempted murder, okay, and Suzanne wasn't murdered, okay. If Suzanne was with us today, the judge would have to cite those rules about Suzanne, okay, and the girls would be insignificant, okay, because Suzanne, it was Suzanne whose neck was strangled. Okay. And let's say hypothetically she survived. Okay. It's at that point she would be able to testify as a victim, okay, of a crime. And that's what that rule says on 3.8 and 24.4, 24.4-1, 302-5 says you are a victim. Okay. So what the defense masterfully did here was basically throw a smokescreen. Okay, again. Okay. And so that's like the third one that I've seen already. Okay. There are more. I'm sure there's more. Linda and Chris, what are the chances that Chris will ever fess up? Who's Chris?
Barry? Maybe she meant Barry.
Oh, thanks, Jan. Okay. I'll fess up. What do you need?
Yeah.
Well, I'll give him my opinion first, and then Linda weigh in. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. He's not gonna. He's not gonna say anything.
I 100% agree with you and back you up on that. Not a darn thing. Yeah. First off, in order to fess up, you got to come to terms with what you did wrong. Let's just say. And if you don't own your own crap, you're not going to, it's not going to happen. I think this will be tooth and nail. It would be a cold day in hell that he would ever do that, in my opinion.
Okay. Let's say I'm late. Sorry, the Tigers. Who's that again? Is that the baseball team Burry played for? Yes, and it's his new defense team.
Chris coined them the Denver Tigers.
The Denver Tigers. Yes, Liz. Thank you so much.
I love that.
That's going to be.
I find that hilarious.
Soul Sister, Rule 16 in Colorado. Does it rule over the discovery? And if yes, it is what will be released to both sides or to the public. Rule 16 is malleable to the court, and that's why they have evidence hearings. So all discovery has to be released to the defense, everything. And so the court, though, can weigh whether or not it's admissible in trial. So great question, Liz. Or excuse me, that I had Liz on the first one, Soul Sister. Thank you. Yep. Good. So good point, Linda. Good point on that last one that you were just making there on. So I think we've got some. It's going to. First of all, I think Linda Stanley's brilliant because she sat back on this ruling. Okay. She sat back on this ruling and said, "Hey, I got no problem with what you're going to do, Your Honor." Okay. Now, what she did there by doing that is allowed the defense to show their cards, okay, and weigh in, and that's exactly what they've done here. Okay. Jan says, "Sorry, Chris, you don't need to."
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you, Jan. So exactly. Well, I need to ask Karen before I agree with it. No, thank you, Jen. You're sweet. Very, very kind. Okay, so you want to shift the gears? Well, first of all, maybe we should ask, guys. You got any questions for Miss Linda on Bear here? I'm using her terminology.
I know people keep asking me about the triangle. I'm just chomping to find out what's in that triangle.
I think it's going to be the helmet. I think it's going to be the helmet. Yeah, I think that's just my opinion. I think it's.
We'll see what's going to happen, and I want to say I can't read. It's like on one hand, I can't wait to read what they all find, and the other hand is like, strap on your seatbelts is not going to be good. I said this about the Gannon Stout case too, as well. What was I going to? I was going to ask you something actually about when you were talking about Melinda. Now I can't remember, but it'll come to me.
She's an amazing human being. Oh my gosh. I mean, it was just so humbling, to just get her feelings. And thank you, Mimi. Appreciate you very much. I mean, she's just humbling. I mean, and that's why the rulings like this, when they come out and they say, well, I'm worried about one side, but not the other, wait a minute. Okay. Yeah. And I get where the court's coming from, and I love this judge, but he's got a tough job. I wouldn't want it for $1 million, because this is going to be a big problem. And thank you, my flock. Appreciate that. So anybody got any questions still for Miss Linda here before we jump over to her favorite friend, Miss Lori Vallow? I asked this once before. Now the household, are they going to now have access to search Triangle area buried denied to them? Yeah, I mean they could theoretically go up there, and absolutely, because he doesn't have possession of the home anymore, and they need permission of the new owners. Get a consent search to search that property, and or get another search warrant and go back up there.
I think a lot of stuff happened in that triangle.
Yeah.
Outside of the house as well.
Hi, Chris and Linda. Love you both. This is, but do you think, in theory, since Suzanne was diagnosed with cancer again, he could at some point call it a mercy killing? Linda, what do you think?
I have thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah. He could play that card. Sure. Absolutely. Because they're sitting back as a defense team and they're going, so Barry, what happened? Okay. And he's told them, maybe didn't tell them everything, or he's going to play them to the very end, say, look, I didn't do this. Okay. There's no way I did this. And they're going to go in true believers. Okay. And, and then you can just hope you don't get fonged on the stand. So yeah, that could be one of the theories. Another one is, don't be surprised if, he cracked. Okay. And these are the reasons why. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to get that out of the way early. And that's why I went to Indiana to kind of lay out, well, this is what he grew up with. Okay. But here's the problem that he has. Okay. Everything he did, okay, that he did, okay. And remember, the allegations here are that he mutilated a human body. We're not talking about, Captain Kangaroo here on a Saturday morning. Okay. Okay. We're talking about somebody in court documents who's been described as mutilating a human body. Okay. I have compassion for people. Okay. But at the same time, I've also sat in the room with the devil. Okay? And I'm going to be releasing some videos coming up here. One I did with a serial child killer by the name of Brandon Wilson, and the second I did with a serial child killer by the name of Wesley Allen Dodd. And I spent a lot of time with these guys and others. Okay, my expertise was in guys who choose children to murder them, okay, for gratification. So I've been down this road 1,000 times, and I've seen these guys. I've been across them. And when I read the court documents that say, hey, this guy mutilated something, i.e. a human, okay, now that's up to them to prove that he didn't do it. Okay? But from my perspective as a former, homicide guy, I would have put a set of bracelets on it, and I would have walked out there saying, do you want to tell me why you did it? That's the difference. Okay. Sandy Lee, if I remember right, after Suzanne went missing, somebody accidentally called her cell phone and someone hung up. Do you guys remember that? I don't, Sandy. I don't, Sandy. I don't remember that, Sandy. But we'd love to find out about that. That'd be interesting. What else did we have? I saw one more come up here. Kimberly, enjoy your channel so much. Hopefully Larry's turn is coming. Yeah. Let's cross our fingers. I know Chula Vista on that particular case is I had a conversation this week and they're working on a couple of things that they're wrapping up. Richard and Mary Chris, I always have permission to tell you how much they love you and how much they support. They need your support. But I think Chula Vista is making some pretty good progress on that case. Okay. Soul Sister, mercy for what, right? Mercy for what? So I don't want to see Linda, Paul Dorsey, Mr. Voss, and Bosco can look in triangle, new training, scientific, look it up. There you go, from Julie.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's shift to I know, but what's next here? What's next with Miss Vallow?
A year.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so Mr. Portal Potty himself is in court this week on the 9th. And what I love about this, okay, first off, we got to talk about a couple things. Did you happen to see his court appearance?
I saw some of it, but this is why you're an expert on the Vallow case, so I'm going to learn
call
from
myself
you.
an expert. I'm just starting to scratch this. After 100 and some videos on the on Daybug case, I'm just scratching the surface with these people. So Chad shows up to court, right, in his dial M for murder red tie. Wore a red tie to his
power tie.
Right? Power, yeah, you don't wear that when you're when they're talking about murder. You don't wear a red tie. No.
Yeah.
Anyways, he shows up to that. The judge says, "Can you hear me?" And Chad says, "Yes." "Can you hear me?" and starts laughing.
It's something.
It's just so stupid. Yeah. And just my mouth just dropped from here to here. Like, I can't believe it. I even made like a 15-second clip because it was so maniacal. Anyway, what a year. He's going to be appearing in court this week on the 9th, which just so happens to be the 1-year anniversary of when the kids were found. So I love, love, love that it's that day. And they're all about symbolism. So I'm so ecstatic that it was that day.
On the 9th.
On the 9th. Now, Lori will not be appearing.
Thank you, Maureen.
What are your thoughts on that? Tell me what your thoughts on this, Chris, about her being not competent. And
So,
she's indigent in the same week. So it's been quite the week for her.
Yeah. And Kelly, thank you. Thank you. Well, what's interesting here, I think if we take a step back with her.
Yeah.
The question is, does she have a mental defect? Right? Because one of the McDonough defense for insanity, remember, she's only been found incompetent so far.
Right.
Okay. So she's not insane. Okay. I think we've all hung out with people you'd go, that guy's not wrapped right. Okay. And I think if Lori was in the room, we'd go, I don't know about that one. Okay. How does being a victim give him a right to kill? It doesn't, animal lover. Absolutely. Great point. It doesn't. And we agree with you 100%. But with Lori, going back to her for a second,
mm-hmm.
I think we all realized that not all the oars hit the water. Okay. When she first, even appeared on the scene. Right.
Yeah.
So the question is,
things are awesome. Okay, keep going.
The question is, does she have a disease of mind? Okay. Or a defective reason? Those are going to be two questions that the court at some point is going to have to weigh out. And so what they've asked these psychologists to do is to go back, really talk about, the lunatic stuff, where even Charles in that body video, that body cam, right? And that you've been talking about for a year and a half now almost, and whatever, how long it's been a long time. And that at some point, even he got her, stashed away for a couple of days on a 72-hour hold. And they kicked her out. Remember, they kicked her out the door.
She said she was fine.
Yeah. And they said, yeah, okay, she's checking the boxes. So therefore she's out the door. Let me read Soul Sisters. How does the nurse practitioner have the legal authority to deem Lori Vallow unfit? All due respect to MPs. I do respect you. So I don't know, Soul Sisters. It's a great question, and we're going to let the psychologists now, okay, balance those scales for her. Okay. So do I think, she's incompetent? No. And one of the things that caught my eye early on was when Nate from the news service,
Idaho News.
Yep. When he confronted her as they were walking back to the car, Do you remember what she was doing? I don't know if you remember what she was doing.
Oh, yeah. The very, very first time when he's like, Lori, where's your kids? Where are your kids? Where are your kids? And she's going, that's great.
Yeah. Well, and remember, and he's like next to her saying, you know, where are the kids? Where are the kids? Right. And she has her iPhone and she's recording. She's recording him.
That's right. After. Yep.
That's a conscious decision.
That's right.
Okay. All of that. Okay. If they really want to get into, you know, the cranium here and what's, you know, what kind of eggs are up there. Okay. If those eggs are scrambled, then it's not like this. Okay. And I had, you know, because remember, she has to prove that she has a mental illness. Okay.
That's right.
And that's going to be a very, very difficult task based on just all the things that you have laid out over all your time. So that's my 2 cents. What do you think?
My question is, in the now, like since she's been, you know, locked up and she's not in her palatial residences anymore, perhaps now she has a little bit of a mental disorder. Maybe.
Yeah. No.
How do you prove the difference between, no, she was quite competent. She knew what the heck she was doing, but perhaps now, you know, how do you prove that? And how does that work?
Well, that will come in at the time of the crime. Okay. So the court will have to weigh at the time of the crime. Did she have a mental defect? Okay. Or, you know, did she have a defective reason? Is what they call it. And that's the actual terminology. Or a disease of the mind.
Right.
Now, you know, I think we can all, you know, attest to, we know people who unfortunately, you know, are mentally ill. And it's a horrible, horrible, horrible experience for family members, for everybody around them. Okay. I mean, Barry's a good example of mentally ill, but he's not mentally insane.
Right.
Okay?
Difference.
Okay. Big difference. Okay. And I want to answer Jen's question here. So
sure.
She for both of us. There have been many cult or serial killers that have been on trial. How is it she's not competent and these serial killers were? Thanks, Jen, for that question. That is a great question. And this is exactly what the court, I think, has ordered for her, you know, to go under an evaluation and try to prove that she is not able to stand trial. So what are your thoughts, Linda? Go ahead.
I find it interesting, actually, on that thought, I guess dovetailing on the thought of the day she appeared in court. What was that, a couple weeks ago? Instead of announcing this, because she had the competency evaluation, I think it was March. And instead of announcing that and just postponing her hearing, they chose to sit in that day and then just said, you know, we need a continuance or whatever it was. And they didn't go for it. So I think there's a few different tactics. Remember the straw analogy when I said pick a straw, any straw?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Here's the other thing. There's like three things I believe that was a tactic. But one of them that I can remember off the top of my head is if Lori's deemed, or she has to go into what did they say? Restoration, something like that, restorative treatment.
Right.
I believe, and maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, that actually saves her from the death penalty.
Yeah.
So I found that very interesting, how it just so happened to be, you know, oh, murder charges coming down, and all these things are on the table, and then it's like, oh, look, Lori's not competent anymore, and yes, that means no death penalty, because in Idaho, it's can be state, what do you call it? Implemented.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple other things too, right?
Yeah, and I think she's, she has to look over her shoulder. And Navy vet, I mean, there's a point here. It says, and thank you, Lori Vallow has no heart, but that doesn't make her incompetent. It just makes her evil.
Yeah, she's not insane. Yeah. She's just evil to the core.
Yeah. Yeah, and, I mean, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, after doing these videos and seeing the manipulations and now connecting dots of what's under the surface and how this is planned, no way she doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. That's a solid point. Czar says, if Hollywood offered her a part, she would take it. Yeah, I would think, based on her past behavior.
All of this, $1 million, all of this, or whatever.
Well, yeah. Well, she spun the wheel on Wheel of Fortune, so she took that.
Oh, she did. And I made a bet actually the other day. I was like, any bets? She comes walking through that door with dark hair and baby blue. Sure enough, she walks in, baby blue, and her dark hair, which she curled it. She had enough sanity, I guess, to decide how to do her hair, make sure, whatever she gets feminine products and wrap her hair so that it can curl beautiful the next day. And, capable of doing that.
It's going to be interesting because all of that will come into her competency.
Love it.
And there's a whole battery of tests that she'll go through.
Well, Letitia Stout just went through that in Colorado. She had 2.
Really?
So, yeah, she did 2 competency because the DA is like, yeah, no, let's try. No, actually, she was deemed competent. And the defense said, no, let's do this again. And she was, you can even make this up. She was spinning in circles on Zoom calls with the judge and looking up and going, oh, and then flicking the light on and off. And it was just like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. And it just started, a couple days before she found out one of her trial dates or whatever. So with Lori, it's a little bit different. She has a little bit of a different tactic, I think, with Mark Means. You got to wonder what Chad's thinking right now as well. I mean, right? Hubby, number 5 is like, wait a minute, she's not coming with me. What's she doing? And I just feel like, I don't know. She's probably like, I'm facing some serious penitentiary stuff that I'm not going to do quite well in jail. Yeah, let's get some restorative treatment. I don't care what that looks like. It's not going to be the penitentiary.
Well, Chad's probably looking at your numbers and going 143. It's instead of 144, he's going -1, 143.
Where'd Lori go?
Lori, I thought you were in the porta potty with me here, or wherever you put her.
My dead grandma Lucille told me.
Yeah, my next book.
Oh man,
it's going to be interesting because I think obviously she's figured out that what, I'm not getting that life insurance policy from anybody anymore, and old Chad up there, he's looking out for his own bacon, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
What I love though, okay, so we have Tammy is finally getting, right? The murder charge is coming. Tammy, JJ, Tylee. And now we're backing right up. And you covered this too with Mike last year with Charles. What did we say then? We all connected the dots. This. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And so now the murder charges are on the table, but it's up to Maricopa County to decide now.
Yeah, no. I think I had a bingo card of 100 on Chandler about a year ago. Remember, whatever it was, I said, do not underestimate Chandler. They're coming, and so she's going to have to spin some plates pretty quickly because now she's got to think about Idaho, and then she also has to think about, okay, if this play doesn't work here, will it work in Chandler? Well, the problem that she has there is the day that Charles was shot. That day, how she reacted. How she's standing outside, all chipper and smiling and say, hi, how are you? Good to see you. Okay. Yeah. Played that game.
And had a pool party that afternoon.
Oh yeah. Go, yeah, exactly. Charles is dead. Let's party. No, I think that one's going to be good. And then, so somebody asked a question. Have I ever had a crazy nut job who feigned that they were crazy? Okay. Criminal. Yeah, all the time. And it's awesome. It's awesome. Because, they end up getting bit by their own deception. You tell a lie long enough and you tell it, correctly. At some point, it's going to be incorrect because you've told it long enough. And you end up getting them every way. Chris, you know how a baby monitor with out-of-date time could be used in court? Well, you'd have to figure out, the sequence of that time in terms of the court's going to have, the defense or prosecution's going to have to argue that they have access to that monitor time sequence. And then they're going to have to actually bring the device in. They can send it to a couple of companies, and they can actually dissect the stamp on that time. So for cell phones, there's a couple of companies. For those types of devices like that, yes, there is a way that it can be shown. Yeah. Next. So I lost my thought process on the 12-step. Is Lori considering competent for each individualistic crime? Individual crime. Yeah. I mean, she's right now been told by the court, or at least her team has been told, look, my opinion right now is she can't sit here and, if you put an egg in front of her, she can't crack it and scramble it. Okay. That's what the court said. So send her to chef school until somebody says, she
can make a souffle.
Yeah, Your Honor, she can make, omelets now. Okay, let's bring her back to court. That's good. Do we know if they're still questioning the other people in the Lori Vallow case? I would suspect so, that this case is still ongoing. Yeah.
Melanie Gibb just got subpoenaed too.
Yeah, she's going to be interesting.
Did you know she got subpoenaed? And I guess whoever was serving her, Melanie was like, no, I don't like, refused to take it. And the process server was like, well, I gave it to her and still considered it processed. Here's my notes on that, blah, blah, blah.
Yep. She's going to be interesting.
It's interesting. I think there's so many people involved, but now that the pieces are starting to put together, I'm really interested in to find out what Tammy Daybell's autopsy said, because that is going to connect more dots. That comes out, I'm going through the whole thing again, and I'm going to repeat the process. Now, I don't know if you saw this or not, Chris, but I did a video on, I guess I don't want to say controversial, but it's very interesting what I found. I was looking for a pattern, was what I was doing. Trying to figure it out. I was watching Zodiac. Have you seen that movie on Netflix?
Yeah.
I know you know about it, but like there's a movie. At the end, they talked about dates. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Or the birthday. And I was like, I'm just curious, when's Lori's birthday? Which she's having a birthday this month, you guys, 26th of June. And same with Brandon Boudreau, same day, different year. Anyway, I started putting stuff together, and I just saw this weird pattern between when they were born and when they died. I was like, why is this all matchy-matchy? All the boys had the same kind of, within these amount of dates, all the same, they died. And all the women, they died. And I thought, well, that's super weird. I don't even know what that means. Okay. 6 for the men, 15 in the girls. Why is that? Plug in June 15th, Mormon religion. And a crazy painting comes up. And the painting, I don't know, was like 15 feet by 20 feet or whatever the heck it was. And it's called Death on the Pale Horse. It has to do with Revelations, which is what they're doing is they're leading the 144 to, right?
143.
143 now with a Lori. And maybe 142 and a half if she's right. She really, like you said, can't scramble or her legs are scrambled or whatever you call her. But I connected these dots to this, and it's interesting because it's starting to actually make a lot of sense that they have a little method to their madness. Do you remember Home Alone, the movie Home Alone?
I do.
Remember the little thieves that they used to go into the houses and they turned on the water and they called them what was it, like the water bandits? I can't even remember what it was, but I love that movie. It's kind of like that. They made their mark in each person, not thinking anybody's going to look under the surface to see what they're doing. And I found it. And I really do. I think this painting, Death on the Pale Horse, has to do with Revelations. And one of the things is they have a depiction of what would be like a zombie, a dead person without blood, right?
Interesting.
And they called all their victims zombies.
Is it a depiction? Is it a depiction of that, or is it what?
Yeah. So I'll show, and yeah, and the actual the four horsemen, right? It's the fourth horseman, which signifies death. And I got to show you this picture because it's chilling.
Okay, while you're looking that up, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And sorry, no, you go ahead if you want. I'll look it up, and then if you want to do what you want to do. Okay, let's see.
So just to answer Jen, I think Ryan and Alex's deaths were like Tammy's. I believe it goes back further, getting in the way of people get hurt. Yeah, no, that's no question about that, Jen. Agree with you. Jen Lee, do you think that Tammy was possibly poisoned? Well, yeah, probably. The talks. I think they sent it out for additional talks.
Yeah.
To kind of flesh that out.
Yeah. And I think it'll match what he says is the symptoms. So take a look at that. Okay. You see where there is, let me see here for a minute here. Oh, right there. Okay. You see this person right here? Oops.
Whoops. Yep. There it is.
Right here. You see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that the zombie guy? That's
the zombie guy. And so this Death on the Pale Horse is the fourth horseman, signifies death. And this is all Revelations, right? And the Greek word is green, and it has to do basically with a body without blood. And what's a body without blood? A zombie. What did they call their victims? Zombies. Okay, so this all came now how I came to this is June 15th. Where I got this picture from is Joseph Smith, who is huge in the Mormon religion, right? Wrote the Book of Mormon. He was looking at this painting on June 15th. And he talked about at 2 o'clock or 3, between 2 and 3, he also mentioned on this date. Now, 2 and 3 is what I've been saying for a year about the deaths all seem to be around this time. So Tammy was estimated by the coroner to be dead by 2 o'clock. I think it's more 3. Same with Tammy, I believe middle of the night. Same with JJ, and I think 3 o'clock because it was the witching hour, the devil's hour. And anyway, so I could go on and on.
I know. I just, what's going to be fascinating to hear, obviously, there was a lot of religious delusion.
Yes. Right? And that's the thing is it doesn't need to make sense to us. It's what makes sense to them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And that, by the way, may play into her competency. Okay. Because they're going to take a mainstream religious person and play it up against, where she's just not wrapped real tight. Okay. And then they're going to, and one of them could be even Melanie.
Oh, yeah.
Because Melanie got to this place, right, where she was like, I can kind of believe that. I'm going down that road. But then she went, time out. Okay, something's going on here, Lori. There's something's just not clicking here. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what's going to be interesting is to see how, the doctors come out of it. I had a case, Brandon Wilson was kind of like this. I mean, Brandon Wilson was, a very, very evil human being. But on the outside, he was a very, charismatic, systematically, he would think through every problem. He was reading Nietzsche at 14 and 15 years old. He was extremely intelligent. Yet, he would take LSD and a variety of other, chemicals. And I think sometimes, that can, have you start talking to dogs and, God made me do this and all this
Your
other stuff.
Right? Just talking to you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Zombies, et cetera. And so I think there is a place here where she does get to a place where, unfortunately, she does start to lose, some of her eggs. But now that does not make her incompetent or not an evil heart, that she knew exactly what was going on. What it does and what it did, and what I think potentially could come out of this, okay, is it makes her more methodical in her mens rea, meaning her guilty mind, her evil mind. Okay. And remember, part of what the prosecution is going to have to prove is that, did she have, an evil mind? Was her, malice aforethought? Did she think through everything that she did? And I think you've proven very successfully, Linda, to your credit, on your YouTube channel, over, the amount of time that you've put into this. I think they would, if I was the prosecutor, I'd want to go watch every one of your videos, because you point out little idiosyncrasies that she does, that Lori does, that, quite frankly, could come back to destroy her. Okay. And because the prosecution could use it.
I hope they do.
Yeah, I do too. I'm
dedicated to showing this, and not just Lori, Chad too.
Mm-hmm.
Chad too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know how that all works, but
Kellen, your father's in late stages of Alzheimer's. I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm just reading it going by. He's in my prayers. So, Audrey, what do you think here? This is a question for you, Linda.
Don't think they found anything on Tammy, digital only. I don't know. I mean, I know they had to test when it comes to the autopsy. I know sucks because Tammy didn't have an autopsy right away. Then they exhumed her. Then they had to, test whatever was left. But they also need to know, from my understanding, what to test for. So I don't know. Is it digital? Is there something? I'm hoping and praying there's something there too, so that they can connect that. I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I do not know either at this point, to be honest with you, Linda. I think, if they have something on her, that's going to be interesting. So when I saw the interview with the sister-in-law, the other Melanie.
The niece, Melanie Pulowski, the blonde girl.
The niece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, there's a big no-no when they asked, when they asked her about the life insurance policy, the $1 million that Brandon had. Okay. And I caught some things in there. I was like, oh, she's lying. And one of them was she did this, and you can see her Adam's apple just jump. Okay. She swallowed, but then she did a couple of things where her body, her mind was thinking one thing, but her body was saying another. And I thought, boy, I'd love to sit in the room with that girl.
Oh man, you'll probably see a spitting image of Lori. She's word salading everywhere. That girl. I've said that before. She is lying. Whew. So many things.
She's not off the hook.
Nope. Not in my mind either. I'm not done. I'm not done.
Look who just came in to say hi.
Hi, buddy.
Hi, bud.
He's so cute. He's like, look at me.
No, he's our forever puppy. He's 6 years old and everybody still thinks he's a puppy.
Yeah, he looks like a puppy.
Okay, bud. Thanks for coming to visit. Appreciate it. He's such a good boy. Yeah, he's loving the Airstream life and going around solving crimes and helping families.
So good.
So
he's a good helper.
So, Miss Linda, what else? What do you think of? Have you had a chance to think through if she comes out of this competence hearing where they're going to say, "Yeah, she's good to go. Let's put her up." What do you think? Where do you think that's? You think Chandler's going to come through before or after? I think it's going to be after.
I think it's after, and I think. First off, I have full faith in Rob Wood and Rachel Smith.
Yeah.
And I think it was a magnificent move that he requested Rachel Smith come help. I think that's an awesome thing. And I believe that she's going to come back and she's going to continue on like Letitia Stout. That's what I think.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think the court's going to, balance her out. Like I was saying about Brandon, I didn't finish my thought.
Oh yeah.
He came like he was, just not wrapped real tight. And I'm going to put up the video that I did an interview with him. And in there, it's pretty interesting. I'm going to put it on my members page right now because I'm not real good at doing a lot, but I've got to get better at it. And so forgive me, guys. I promise you it'll be on the member side. But and then eventually I'm going to do a whole piece on him. But this is a guy who, is kind of down that lane. He was very methodical, top 15% ACT scores in the U.S. Brilliant IQ. I think he weighed in at 262 or 242. He was a genius. And I had to get some, thought process with him. And I sat down with him for about 5.5 hours and he ended up, showing me, how he did his thing. And I was the victim and he demonstrated on me how he did it. And I'm going to put that up coming up here. In fact, I've working with Dillan on that. I was a little concerned that YouTube would think it was too crazy, but then I went and I looked at a whole bunch of other things today and I thought, you know what, these are up there. And I've never shown it outside of the trial, but the poor little guy that was 1998. And it was the movement for the first of family restrooms in the United States. And it was the first time that a child had been, slaughtered in a bathroom. And that was Matthew Checky was the victim's name. And I wanted to be sensitive to their family. Obviously, all these years, it's been 20 something years now. But so I've never played it for anybody outside of law enforcement. But I figured it's time because these guys are out there and they're dangerous. And so it needs to be said. And when you get these Lori Vallows and you get these people that just aren't, I don't know, they have mental illness, but they're not crazy. Okay?
Yeah. Do you think since like all your experience with these guys, when you look at Chad Daybell and you see some things with him, what do you see when you see him and some of the things you've heard or?
Well, I think Chad is, he's past feeling. Okay. So Chad has a lot of, isolated behaviors, a lot of compartmentalized behaviors. And he learned that as a gravedigger. Okay. And remember, right, one of his first jobs is, he spent, I think 11 years.
Long time. I think even, long time being a gravedigger. He even had his engagement photos at the cemetery with his girlfriend, with Tammy.
Yeah, that's a sick puppy right there, right? So that tells you a lot right there. And Karen, I agree with you. We need to look back at Lori's first insulin death. Yeah, Alex's credit card, no doubt. No, I mean Chad is, he's that guy. He does a lot of what we'll call reflective behavior, meaning when you talk to him, he listens, and then he regurgitates or reflects back, okay, what he wants you to hear, not what he heard. Okay. So he would be the guy that you would say, well, there's 144,000 of these guys in the book of Revelations. And he'd be the guy that would say, you could be one of them.
Right.
And let me tell you why.
Right.
Okay. So see how that's kind of, he's the constant salesman.
Yes.
And he's been selling books. Okay. And there's 5 steps to a sale: prospect, personalize, promote, create, and close.
Right.
Okay? And so he's able to process quickly in a conversation. Okay? And he's always operating in the secret life. He's always operating in that secret life, but he answers in the public persona.
Right.
So those are the kind of, so you've really got to be skilled at understanding how we get that person to, pull the plug. And remember one of the tricks, one of the secrets that you're going to tell your children and your grandkids, your granddaughters. Okay? My daughter said she never had a date because I always processed her boyfriends, and I was grateful for that. Okay? But I taught her, I said, you have to ask the specific question. You can't say, tell me about your life. Okay? Right. Because then they're going to answer you in the private or the public persona. Now, tell me about yourself. Excuse me. You have to ask, tell me about your life. And now you get into the secret life, because now they have to process which one.
Right.
And you can watch. You can watch their facial movements. You can watch their body, or you can listen to what comes out of their mouth. And you already know they're going to answer you in the public persona, because 90% of people will go, well, like what? Okay. And that's where you follow it up with anything. Okay. And you just leave it hanging there. Okay. Now they're in trouble. Okay. Do you think Alex committed suicide? Martyr for Chad and Lori. Do you think Lori and Chad had him taken care of? That's for you, Linda. Miss Linda, you know more about this guy than anybody.
Yeah, no, I don't think he committed suicide. What I find interesting, the toxicology or the autopsy report said he had a pulmonary embolism. What I find fascinating is what I was speaking before about this 2 to 3 o'clock mark. Interestingly, 3 o'clock that day two interesting things. Alex died a day after Tammy was exhumed. The other interesting mark is at 3 p.m. The call came in from Chad to give him a blessing. Now, from my understanding in the Mormon religion, a lot of people are saying, no, that's not what you do when you give a blessing in this religion. And Chad was in Hawaii and had called. And this is that 3 o'clock mark, just like how Tammy died, JJ. And so I'm starting to question that. And then that's when 911 was called. So there's a couple weird things to that. I teeter, was it natural or is there something more? that morning, Zulema had asked Alex to make a gift basket for Christmas. Now, I don't know about everybody in chat, but the men in here who are watching, how many times have you made a gift basket for Christmas and your wife tell you to make one? I know in my own experience, there's no way I would tell Mr. Linda to make a gift basket for somebody. So I want to know what was in that gift basket. And was it some products that was in Mexico where they went a couple weeks or a week before that? So it's sketchy. I don't know.
It was a 7.62 round going down range. Yeah, I need the special. Give me the number 2 gift basket.
Right? Yeah. I want to make a gift basket. You know what I'm saying? Make a special holiday basket for you know who.
Yeah, right? Tammy. There's a guy out here with a ski mask with a gift basket.
Interestingly, the ski mask was a rumor and it turned out to be a ski mask, but Alex went to go get the ski mask, not Chad. So the rumor was Chad went to go get it.
And I had a friend of mine point out today that, remember, that was hunting season. So that could have been, remember, he's looking up the wind. Okay. Now everybody thinks that that's because they wanted the burning body to go, but that wind blows southeast into the field. And at that time, if that body smell wouldn't have been a problem. However, if it's hunting season, okay, you're going to need the velocity. That's why he was looking up the chart.
Grendel.
Yep.
The Grendel drop.
Right. He had to know and show, that round in itself, you got to know the wind velocity of it too, because if it's hunting season, well, then you could make it look like an accident. Okay. So, if she got hit and it's hunting season, well, and it's a hunting ground, which it is, okay, then, oh boy, look, some crazy hunter killed my wife out front by accident. Therefore, Lori goes down or Tammy goes down by accident. He collects a policy, okay, and everybody high fives.
I find this interesting. That gun that I saw, I saw it and I went, holy crap, that's a gun. He actually approached her the first time. So I found that interesting because a couple weeks before that, he used that in his Jeep towards Brandon Boudreaux, but missed. Why would he get out of the vehicle with such a gun? He could be doing that from a ways back.
Because he already had an experience where it failed.
That was the one. So he shot at Brandon, that failed. Yeah.
Missed. Correct.
Okay, so then he's going up to Tammy, that failed.
He shoots at her.
It didn't work.
It didn't
work. She said but she said it didn't even work. Like he was right there and did a couple things and nothing happened. So she thought it was a paintball gun that misfired. Right. Yeah.
Right. And it probably did. And so, you've got the Keystone Cops going here. Okay. And, can you imagine that conversation when they got back? Alex, how did it go? Well, Chad, I missed, Brandon, as you know, again, and you didn't get her? No. Oh, man. Okay. We got to think of something else. Plan B.
Yeah.
Okay. Plan B. And this again goes towards, the competency, okay, of Lori, because Lori's in that conversation too. Chad, Absolutely. How did it go? Is she gone? No, not yet. Okay. We got a problem.
Yep.
So all of these pieces of that puzzle are going to come together.
Yeah. Well, right. Chad, I already ordered the $30 rings on Amazon and I got our beachwear. When are you going to do it?
Yeah. And I just saw something here. Dylan, put that back up. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go find. Oh, here it is. Someone that knows Zaluma is in chat. Addie Gary. Great. Tell her we said hi. Great to have you here. This, and we'll see how it's going to go. We'll see how it's going to go.
It's going to be it will be the case of a century.
It's going to be interesting. That is for sure. That is for sure. And I think,
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, make sure, right, you just tell the world, okay, that, you know, you don't want to get subpoenaed, but if you did, then Chad's guilty, and so is Lori. Okay. That way you'll never get subpoenaed. Okay. Because any defense attorney that's watching will know that Linda and Chris, you know, I used to tell friends all the time. They'd say, do you know, because one of the questions in voir dire when they would ask you for jury duty, they'd say, do you know anybody in law enforcement? And I would say, and I would tell them, I said, yeah, bring me up. Tell them you know me, that I said everybody's guilty. Right? And of course, you know, they get kicked off the jury. You know, juror number 5, you're excused for the day. And they'd call me up and said, dude, it worked. I said, yeah. You know, would you put, if you were a defense attorney, would you put you on the, you know, in the box when you said their client was guilty?
Right.
So, you know, heck no. So, you know, we're not gonna, you know, if she's here, then great to have you here. Hopefully you're not in trouble, but we'll see what happens. So what else you want to bring up, Miss Linda? I have held you for 2 hours away from your wonderful family. How is your family doing, by the way?
They're good. They're good. We finally are rid of the snow, so we're all outside the last week. It snowed a couple weeks. May long weekend, it snowed for us, and so now it's not. So it's good.
Very good. And your parents everything is going well there?
It is. We're stuck in COVID, so I haven't been able to see them, but it's all good. It's been what a month. Like it's just been crazy month.
Yeah. And please extend our gratitude to your wonderful husband for his service to all the good people up there in Canada. I mean, you know, being, you know, EMS, I mean, he's on the front lines, and we're, as a paramedic, we're grateful for that. And, you know, we're thankful that he's allowed your brain to come out here into the YouTube community. I mean, I feel blessed to have my Karen, you know, next to me. She's like, you know, after these programs, she says, well, you know, you should have said this, you should have said that. I don't mean to offend anybody. If I do, please forgive me. It's not in my heart.
You're doing great. And I love Miss Karen. I love her.
She's smarter than me, that's for sure. And that's all that counts.
She's awesome.
So, and so what else do you want to add? I'm going to let you have, I've had you for 2 hours here. What do you want to add to the show? And by the way, if you've just joined us, please get over to subscribe on Linda's channel. If you've not seen it, it's a crime. You know, she's been a great supporter of me and Karen and Dillan and all of us in the YouTube community. And we just think she's just marvelous. So get over there, subscribe. And if you find a little extra time, hit our button too. We appreciate it from both of us, and we're grateful. So, Miss Linda, you have the last word on tonight's program. Okay, and then Dillan, after Miss Linda's done, let's take a shout. Where do you want to go? Last word, Miss Linda.
I think at the end of the day, we need to not worry about some of these things that are going on. Yes, worry, no worry, because I think at the end of the day, justice is going to be served. So Barry Morphew, in that case, going to be a little scary, going to be a little rocky, but we need to have faith in the prosecution. Same goes for Lori. It's an absolute gong show. Same thing, though. At the end of the day, they're putting the pieces together, and I'm not stopping either, and Chris isn't either. So, and this wonderful community, we're not stopping. So just have to do our woosahs. It's going to be okay.
Well said.
And thank you so much, Chris, for
having
me on tonight. As always, I'm very grateful.
We appreciate it. Biakamai, everybody. We're grateful to you. And don't forget Maya, and don't forget Kelly. We're still in the run there. Okay. Dillan, take us up. Thank you, Linda.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. special memory.